we go. All right. We're here. Conversation with the Creator. I'm Zalman. This is Danny. How are you, Danny?
Hey, Zalman. Shalom Aleichem. How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing great. Thank God. Thank God.
This is going to be our first cast in looking for God. What a task, eh?
Right. So what are we here for? What are we doing? What is this all about? Why is it called Conversations with the Creator? What's our mission?
Because we're trying to find the unfindable, to get a handshake with the unshakable, to get a smile from the unknowable and the unseeable. We're going quietly and modestly, step by step, without any restrictions, without any conventions, just looking for God. God, where are you? We're your children, and we want to be connected to you, and we don't want to be connected to you through the falseness of theology, or the vanity of philosophy, or the confusion of psychiatry and those things. We just want to check in, and we want you to like us and hang out with us and be close to us, and we want to do that with you.
Right. It's interesting. You and I were talking recently this idea that this is from the global conversation. God is just not on the docket for some reason, and how do we put that back in? We're religious. We're political.
So I don't know if we need to. I think that the Creator is everything is some manifestation of the Creator. I think the problem is we want the Creator to be in our image. And the Torah says something different. The Torah says, okay, let's make man in our image, and not let's make us in man's image.
Right.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of, I'm just practically speaking, what's going on. I don't know, that was very striking to me when you said that. It just, there's something lacking from the conversation. I mean, it's so, like you said, it's unknowable, ungraspable. I mean, it's not an easy task the world conceals the Creator perfectly, and he designed it that way for a reason. But it's just these kinds of conversation we want to have. Let's just talk straight God. Let's just talk the core of it. I think it's necessary. It's needed. It's very healing.
So think about the first line. Think about the beginning of the Torah, of the Bible, where it says, "Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim ve'et ha'oretz." Right.
Right.
And what's it say next?
Haaretz hayta tohu vavohu.
Right. So right away, God says there's chaos and emptiness and confusion. So why, if God says right at the beginning, there's chaos, guys, this isn't going to be like walking down the street and all the lights change at the same time,
right?
And you get the cross. There's chaos here. So I think I hope that part of finding the Creator is being willing to accept the fact that there's chaos and confusion, that and now in America, this last week there was an election, and there's not clear about what's going on, and some people feel like one of the parties in the election his party didn't behave well, and those people feel like what's the word? Offended by the lack of proper behavior. Yeah. So, but you could say, well, God, if you stand for, now I'm telling God what he should do. If you stand for truth and justice and righteousness and goodness, so how could you let this happen? Right? A lot of people talk to God. How could you let this happen?
Right.
And I think we forget that it's the Creator that we're talking about, not Bob Schwartz, the Creator. So I think the first thing we have to do is accept chaos and discomfort and and uh,
That's a huge
yeah,
struggle
you
point.
know
You
what I
know,
mean?
you have to
Huh?
rely. Well, aren't we more comfortable if I rely on myself, right? Making God in my image. You know, I rely on myself. It's that stuff that's beyond our control. That's very difficult. We want to impose our sense of order on things. God, how could you let this happen?
Yeah, we want things to be orderly. I might be a lazy guy and just say, well, God, why isn't the world different? What's wrong with you? Why don't you make it good for me so I don't have to think or feel,
Right.
or so I don't have to think or feel or be what's the right word? Be uh, involved. Another thing, I think it's like probably a person who first picks up a musical instrument and knows nothing about music,
Right.
and in the end wants to play in a symphony orchestra. And I think this is this podcast, this vlog that we're starting is is not like going to be a one day fix. It's going to be like, and I hope we'll hear from people who listen. Well, I've tried this. Like, for example, when I eat food, I think of the letters of God's name. Why? Because I don't want my swinish self to stuff the food in my mouth. I want to think, creator of the universe. Wow, I remember you before I eat the food. And I don't want to just make a bracha because, like, okay, I made the bracha. That's what religion says. And now I get to stuff in my face.
Right.
No, how does, like, thinking about the creator help with food? Or how does, another thought is to unplug, really to unplug from my expectations. Um,
Hmm.
let's say I think something should be one way and it turns out another way. So maybe instead of like getting bent out of shape, I need to say, well, there's chaos for you, and put a smile on my face. I don't know where we're going to go with this, Zalman, but I tell you, I trust you after years of learning together and being very close friends, and I hope admiring and respecting each other.
Yeah.
We'll be able to take this, and people will listen, and we'll be able to take this
Well, I think we're
along a
starting a
path that
dialogue.
that we'll all start that we'll all start that we'll all start yes, and
I
with
think
the
we're starting.
creator, and becoming more sensitive and aware of the creator.
Yeah. Well, it's conversations. And this is born of our conversations, you and I. So it's like conversations with the creator. We're speaking about the creator. We're speaking about ourselves. To start a dialogue, to really start a dialogue. But I like what you said. I think there's, just to highlight some things you said, there is no such thing as an overnight cure or overnight success or a quick fix. It's really a process. So you and I are here now doing this together, which is the coming to fruition of, hours and hours of talking and chatting and challenging each other and sharing with each other. So it really is
Years, really.
yeah, it's a process, but hopefully, well, I believe, you believe, we feel it, we sense it, that there's a need for these conversations, for people to know that it's okay to even have these kinds of conversations. But it's definitely a process. I think there's a lot of illusions and delusions out there. I mean, that's what I'm seeing in this election cycle. There's just an alternative reality that doesn't really work. But there's a lot of things we've got to become aware of. You can't change something until you're aware of it. So there's certain ways of thinking, feeling, seeing the world. Religion, I'm constantly, because of you and I in our conversation, I'm constantly talking about it's a relationship, it's not a religion. For people to hear that, it's almost like permission to challenge, permission to think. You have permission to use your brains, but
Yeah.
it's really like engaging in a process, and we can, I think this, what's the process of change is that I think we can sense that something is off, so we explore it. And we get some insight and some awareness, and hopefully this podcast can be part of that. People attracted to it, and then it's food for thought, and then contemplating those ideas, and then slowly over time things change. Like, for example, well, I speak a lot about it's a relationship, not a religion. Being Jewish is about a relationship with the Creator. but you've added some thinking to, that's crystallized, some things for me, like, about making it about God, and not getting wrapped up in all of the details. I mean, that's what I understand a relationship means, is it's got to be about God. It's got to be, this feeling, this connection, this
Did you
awareness.
say about religion?
No, it's not about religion. It's about a relationship to the Creator. But
A relationship, yeah. You were the first guy I ever heard talk about a relationship with God. And it took me some years to be able to sit comfortably and quietly when you talked about it. It used to cause me so much anxiety. How is that possible? What does he mean? What's he talking about? What's with this guy? How come I like him so much? This relationship with God stuff.
Sure.
But here we are, we're created, and it's creating us, and we want to define what it is, but I'm 73 years old, and I'm darned if I know.
Right. I heard something recently. I really like this idea. So why do I say that I'm 73 years old? Why don't you just say I'm on level 73? You're on level 73. It's like a little shift, but it's like, what am I old? I'm 73 years old, or just I have 73 years of life and living and experience behind me. I'm on the 73rd level. Like a little shift.
Nachon.
I like that.
Well, if you were 73, what would you say?
I don't know. I'd probably be talking to someone 45 and we're making a podcast. I don't know.
So I'll say I'm in my 74th year of life on this planet.
Oh, you mean how to express myself? Yeah, it's a level I'm on.
And I think that it's almost desperately important to I think it's almost desperately important for everybody on the planet to unplug from all the noise and the mishigas and the religious and political stuff and connect up with the creator of the universe, the source of everything, with whatever you want to call it. I don't even know what to call it.
I don't know, but you've helped me a lot. I've switched from Hashem and God, and I give the Creator. I find myself saying Creator so much more. It feels more right, It's. I guess it starts with little things, allowing ourselves to make it personal, and that's a relationship. But just saying the Creator. But I got that from you. But it feels right to me. I enjoy it much better. It feels much more real to me. The Creator, the Creator,
yeah,
reality, but. The words that we use are very powerful, but listen, you've influenced me, I've influenced you, and we've been growing over time. I think that's what to convey that experience in a podcast and helping people, come to this idea that we're talking about, which is, make it about God. Big G.
Yes. Chaim Chlorfine says when I say the word creator, he thinks that it's too strict.
Oh, it's limiting?
Yeah, but creator's pretty good. I wonder if we should say the creator or the creating. The creating, because it's happening all the time, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Words
one of the things we'll have to explore now.
Yeah, words are always gonna escape us. There's no, you can't name it. Like sometimes you're speaking it,
I like calling it. I don't think God's a he. I once asked my old Yiddish grandmother if God was a man, and she said, "What do you mean?" Of course God's a man. But I think she wasn't right in that regard. I don't know what to call it. I think it's an open table, but I know the Torah, the Bible tells us that God says, love me, fear me, go after me, do it with a smile, give me a home. And I think it's that voice of God's voice talking to us through the Torah, through the Bible.
Yeah.
God's own voice. Not the fact of the creations, not the fact of the mountains and the rivers and the air and the stream and our bodies and molecules and food and blood and this and that, but the voice of the Creator that that is calling out to us, hey, give me a home, pay attention to me, love me, fear me, and it's that poignantness of God's voice that compels me to want to be the person that I think maybe the Creator wants me to be, so that I can love, fear, go after, or listen to, all of those things.
So,
I think so.
let me ask you a question. So call upon your 73 levels of experience. You're a 73 grandmaster wizard.
Yes, I could get my Grandmaster Wizard hat if you want.
No, it's okay. But think about it. Why
I'll leave it off today. Okay.
All right. Well, why when I say it was a relationship, why was that uncomfortable? And by extension, why the things you just said, love me, fear me, do it with a smile, make for me a home. It's intimate. It's so not rigid, do mitzvahs, get points, don't get punished, and yet so many people turn it into that, and in effect leave out all that, what you sometimes call mushy stuff, but it's the real stuff. So why is it uncomfortable? Why, in your experience, as you look back on 73, achieving 73 levels?
It was uncomfortable because, what do you mean have a relationship with God? God's God, I'm not. So what's the relationship? Yeah, but you're saying it, and me trying to deal with that for years finally helped me to realize that it means God is saying, relate to me, love me, fear me. Here I am. What am I, chopped liver? God is telling me, relate to me, to God, elevate yourself, elevate your consciousness. It's not about religion. There are no things here. I'm the Creator, and what you need as my creation is to turn yourself to relate to me. And once after I got that, maybe it even took 5 years. I remember all the time you would say it, and I would go, what is he talking about? That it's God's voice saying that we should relate to God. Yeah, did I respond on target?
Yeah. Well, it's your experience.
What is it for you, Zalman, that makes you how to understand this idea of relationship?
Well, there's a psychological piece that I love to talk about, just because I think psychology as a tool helps us hopefully not get lost intellectual, but go into self more. I think a lot of people are hung up on God having had a bad experience with it, but there's a psychological piece. But I'm also just curious, why is the Jewish world so obsessed with, Shulchan Aruch says, the Mishnah Berurah says, it's almost, I'm doing mitzvahs to serve the Mishnah Berurah, chas v'shalom, but that's a separate piece we'll talk about. But just something that's just fascinating is that I see there are 3 levels of relationship. There's a relationship to myself. How do I feel about me? How do I talk to myself? Would you ever speak to your wife the way that you speak to yourself?
I'm not so good at talking to myself. I've really only started to do it recently, and I've learned that from you saying, talk to yourself.
Right. So there's a relationship to self, then a relationship to others around us, and there's a relationship to the Creator. And there's a lot of, let's call it trauma for lack of a better word, but just trauma in terms of, as a kid comes into the world and starts relating to parents, and parents are like this. As you're a kid looking at big parents, it's like they're all powerful, trust them and whatnot. And that doesn't always go so well, but then that sets us up, for, well, how do I feel about God? I think that makes it hard to have I should relate to God. Last time I tried to relate and trust an all-powerful figure, I got smacked hard. So, whoa. I don't know if that is, here for you, but I definitely know as, engaging with it as a relationship.
I think what you're saying is so, and I think it's why we're not successful at relating, because we're not skilled and we're relating. We're relating out of our feelings, out of our emotions, out of our position to that thing or idea or person or authority that we're relating to. But there's probably an activity that should be called relating. Yeah, that could encompass relating to the Creator. We'll talk about this. This idea of just plain relating is the activity, and not still being bound by, my father poured ketchup on my head when I was 3, and whatever.
Well, they influence each other. As I connect to me healthier, as I have build up a relationship with the Creator, so they all impact each other. Like I can, if it's all colored by the past and how I, was parented, so then I bring that and I superimpose it onto my relationship to the Creator. But I mean, I can change it and work on it. I mean, something that really knocked me out, I mean, for some sources, I mean, it's chapter 3 of Tanya that talks about like, love and fear. And I don't really like using the word fear because it's been hijacked, to mean, scary or something, but it means awe, respect. I mean, that's a whole topic we could talk about. But just to see that idea is like, you're going to do a commandment, you're going to fulfill a commandment. Don't even talk about it, doing a positive commandment, unless there's some feeling of love that's there. I mean, that really turned me on. And then Chovos Levavos in the section about trust, where it talks about 7 levels of trust, and like you start off the first 3, I think, are all, there are human beings in my life that have that, and you keep going, and it's just like, when Moshe and Aaron, I love thinking about this story because it comes up all the time. But Moshe and Aaron, like, hey, sages, let's go. We're gonna go to Paro. We're gonna do it. We're gonna go tell him and demand our rights. Right? Yeah, let's go. And they wind up at the palace and then turn around. There's nobody, with them.
Yeah.
So I forgot where I was going with that point, but where was it going with that point? I don't know. We can lose our train.
Yes.
But
Zalman, let's end here because my 73 level brain.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some people where I am and they're talking very, very loud. And
I will try to do it earlier. But listen, good stuff.
Yeah, no, this was great. And if anybody is listening, I want to thank you so much for your patience, and I hope for your participation. I think the work now, not for a Jew, for every person on the planet, is to reach out and find the real reality and work with it and let it bless us. And if each of us takes on himself to be good and upright and kind and compassionate and smile when things are good and smile when they're not so good. Why? To give God a home. God says, give me a home. And I think that's really the work we need to do.
Amen. Sounds good. We'll end on that note. All right.
All right, my dear. Much love and blessings.
Okay. All right. All the best.
Talk to you